Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. There have been some significant Earth changes that have been unfolding over the past few days, as many of you are well aware of. And to be honest, the Earth is always undergoing some major changes geologically, geophysically, and more. So it's not like this has never happened before. The Earth has been around for a very long time. It's done a lot of very interesting things, most of which we are completely unaware of. We just don't have the information because it was happening 500 million years ago. But we do have a pretty good record. Interestingly, today we've had this big lava fountain event at Kilauea, speaking to some of these changes unfolding back on the 7th of July, the 777 portal. This is July 7th, 25, 2 plus 5 equals 7. We had Uranus shift into Gemini, shifted out of Earth into air, and well, we are seeing more chaos and disturbance and change unfolding quite quickly after that. A deluge of floods across the United States and spectacular volcanic activity. Kilauea giving the best show with this lava fountain about 1,000 feet high. We've also had an earthquake swarm under Mount Rainier, and then also an earthquake swarm right near Volcán de Agua, and also an earthquake swarm at a volcano in New Zealand. There's been quite a lot of distributed stress release across the entire Pacific Ring of Fire. We'll watch and look at how these earthquakes have kind of popped off in such a way to equalize everything. But we do now have a new earthquake swarm that started south of Japan, though this time to the east. So there's an earthquake swarm that's been ongoing in Japan to the southwest, and then there's also one to the southeast of the island. Both of these earthquake swarms being in the area identified by the Japanese manga prophet Ryo Tezuki for there to be some sort of large volcano-seismic event in July of this year, which triggers a massive tsunami, creates new land, just like the process geologically we are seeing here, and that this leads to some significant consciousness shift on our planet. So I was thinking about all this. Of course, I'm very invested and interested in what the Earth is doing, and I want to be on the right side of the changes, right? Thank you, Mother Earth, for giving us such a wonderful planet that we can all live on if we get our act together peacefully in harmony and abundance. And I realized that the dragon lines on this planet are changing, and that Mother Earth right now is shedding her skin. Last year was the year of the dragon. This year it's the year of the snake. And so last year we had a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, and that was on April 20th, April 21st of 2024. Well, less than a month later, on May 10th to the 12th, we had a G5 geomagnetic storm, the strongest geomagnetic storm in a long time, years, maybe even 2 decades, going back to the Halloween storms in 2003. Well, what's a geomagnetic storm? Big changes in swings in Earth's magnetic field. And so areas that previously hadn't really felt too much energetic flux, all of a sudden now are getting this wake-up call. And dragon lines, if you're unaware, they are a name or term for the natural flows of energy that run through the planet. So a ley line, many people are aware of these. These are supposedly dragon lines, these natural energy lines that have been anchored more in place by man-made objects, for example, like Stonehenge or the pyramids, or even just in a local area like a church. Often they build churches on ley lines, and these natural energy flows kind of run through these landmarks and sacred sites and more. Dragon lines are completely wild. They're completely free. They're 100% organic. That's the website, by the way, Wild Free Organic. You can get your earthing shoes there if you want to check those out. Made in Turkey, they're the best. So these dragon lines, they're always in flux. But when you have a big geomagnetic storm like that G5, we've also had 2 G4 storms that follow, one in October, one just recently in June. Well, and I think there's actually, there's some other geomagnetic storms in there as well. You got to think to yourself, how are these dragon lines changing? And if you have an area that has been at rest with very low energy flow through it, all of a sudden, but it may be dormant, and all of a sudden you have this flux change, so a dragon line starts to flow through that area, bringing a lot more electric current. Well, that could perhaps wake some things up. And so we had the year of the dragon in 2024. We had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, fixed Earth, very much representative of the Earth itself. And then now 2025, year of the snake, and we have Uranus shifting into Gemini, carrying all that Earth energy and basically soon to release it. In the process of releasing that Earth energy, and all the outer planets are in new signs. This is all Western tropical astrology, so we're using the signs, not the constellations, based off of the solstice and equinox marker points. So we're measuring specific degree angles in the local solar system and what energies these degree angles contain, how they may interact perhaps because of that degree with like Earth's geodynamo. Got to think like this, right? Got to combine the geophysics and also some of this astrological, astronomical knowledge. Blend the two together so you can start to see maybe the bigger picture. We are speculating here, but we have all the outer planets now in new signs, and they are fire and earth except for Jupiter, which is in water, and we've been seeing all the floods. So Jupiter is making itself very known right now. It's like, hey, you guys got me figured out, but I'm going to keep bringing this stuff. But it's not difficult to see what Jupiter is doing right now. But we have Saturn and Neptune in Aries in that first couple degrees. We have Uranus now in Gemini in the first degree. And then Jupiter in Cancer, Pluto in Aquarius. All of them are in new signs. So this is a complete transmutation of the Earth energies. This is why that shake needs to shed its skin, because it can't get by with what it has anymore. So we have earthquake swarms now popping up. Here's Japan, right? This is the area of that prediction. And so it made me think that we need to look at the dragon lines to see where perhaps the next big event is going to occur, because it's inevitable that something big is going to occur. There's always significant geologic events, whether it's a high magnitude earthquake, magnitude 8+, magnitude 9+. Ryo Tsuzuki, the manga prophet, she got the March 11th, 2011 magnitude 9.1 Japan smack on. Fukushima meltdown, she saw the tsunami, everything, she was smack on. She was also spot on with, I guess, up to a dozen of her predictions that she had in her dreams. So I don't read Japanese, so I can't confirm by reading the manga, but there's enough people saying it that it seems to be the case. So we have that force and factor. We also have these volcanoes. We had Hunga Tonga January 15th, 2022. That released a ton of water into the stratosphere. That's a decade plus long global climate event that's still unfolding at this moment in time. It only occurred 3 years ago, right? We're still in the fallout of that. These sort of big events happen, but we haven't had one really since, I guess, Hunga Tonga. And for earthquakes since April of 2000 or August of 2021, which was the last magnitude 8+ earthquake. I believe that was the South Sandwich Islands. So in terms of volcanoes, Kilauea is erupting, but we also just recently saw this earthquake swarm here at Volcán de Agua. That's the Spanish. If you want to give it, I don't know why Google Earth changed it. It's whitewashing everything. Here we have Mount Rainier with that earthquake swarm. It's still at a low alert level. They have not changed that, but the biggest earthquake swarm since 2009, 200+ earthquakes, actually may be now at 300+. I didn't check the tally for today. And then we also have this earthquake swarm that was occurring in New Zealand, where we've had the largest earthquake since in the past week plus. So Ruapehu. We hope that's how you pronounce it. Apologies. Kiwis, let me know how to pronounce your wonderful sacred volcano and mountain here on the North Island of New Zealand. That has also been having a swarm. Again, the alert level has not changed on that, but we'll notice that we have this magnitude 6.3 there that occurred on that 777 portal. That's the strongest earthquake that we have had basically for a week, and actually I think a little bit longer than a week. If we go up, there's been quite a lot of magnitude 5 earthquakes here. And then we've also had this magnitude 5.3, magnitude 5.2, 5.2 earthquake swarm. Just 3, maybe some lesser ones, but those 3 popped up on the 8th. So following that 6.3, kind of going like this. So here's the 6.3. There's those low 5.0s. And then we see this new earthquake swarm pop up here. It's not like hundreds of quakes, but a magnitude 5.3 and some other quakes as well. So on top of all that, we have the full moon. It will go exact tomorrow afternoon. I think it's like 2 p.m. Pacific time, around that time window. Europeans will get the full moon exact in their night sky. So it's going to be really great, but it's also going to be great for North America. Just a few hours later, the sun will set. We'll see the full moon. That is also an influence on the Earth because of the Earth tides and the ocean tides that it creates. And so the full moon will, in general, just create greater stress on faults. And also the new moon, because it's creating a stronger tidal force. And I've also was thinking about the moon, and I don't think we can zoom out far enough to see the moon with Google Earth here. But I was thinking about the moon, and when it's passing through the magnetotail, it's going to also experience some electromagnetic forcing on it. So let me just quickly talk about that, because this is an interesting idea that I know some of you are really going to appreciate. The true do your own researchers who are researching this just as much, if not more so than I am. I am one person trying to understand what's happening on this planet. So here is a suitable graphic. Let's look at this. Here we have the sun, we have the earth, we have the moon. There is plasma in the magnetotail. Actually, some of the most vibrational plasma, highest energies in the magnetotail. Well, look at this. Look at the moon. It has a light side and a dark side, of course. The dark side is going to build up a very strong negative charge. The light side is going to build up a very strong positive charge because of how sunlight is basically ionizing different molecules and just the lunar surface and such. So this builds up a pretty significant voltage difference. Okay, now it has, a significant electric charge to it. And it's moving through not only the magnetic field, but also the electric circuits of the magnetotail. Well, so therefore an electric field is there as well. So when you have an electric field and you have something that has an electric charge to it, it's going to alter the field. It's also going to be guided by that field. Also the magnetic field, right? Electromagnetism, they're always working together in this interesting, unique way. And so these charges are going to be very subtle, and how the moon is moving in response to that's going to be very subtle because it has its orbit, its orbital velocity, and it's locked into its gravitational orbit around the sun, around the earth, and the earth around the sun. The whole thing there. But there is going to be, just based on physics, there is going to be some amount of movement within that orbit because of these electromagnetic interactions. How much, I really can't say. Does that cause a change that's detectable by the Earth tidally that's significant enough to maybe perhaps alter polar currents and tidal forces and perhaps trigger earthquakes? I don't know. But this is clearly a very complex system. And the magnetotail is well charged up right now at this moment in time because of the high-speed streams that we've been having. And let's actually look at our sun right now, because we have a new big coronal hole coming in, which I think is going to activate all this energy, this dragon energy that's latent. It's coming. I think this is really going to be what does it. So here we have the earthevolution.com/energy-analytics portal. This is also where the store is, by the way. If you've been wondering, sorry I haven't made an update. The tea blends on the store are in stock. So are the crystals. We just restocked the electricity, by the way. 100 units now back in stock. We're mixing up the fruit tea tomorrow. So the shoes, you can't purchase the shoes through this site right now. That's on wildfreeorganic.com/store. But the paintings should be also able to be checked out. So if you're interested in some of my dad's natural pigment soil art, these are canvas replicas of that. then you can check that out. Here we have Twister. So I'm going to do a more proper announcement of this soon. But these are all on the site. I think the shirts are good too. We got the Boom Shakalaka shirts. But I'm still doing some work on the website. But you can try. It should work. Looks like we have... I mean, it looks like they're working. So regardless, there's a lot of stuff on the store that if you're interested, you can check out. These Solar Storm tumblers are really cool. These are awesome. I've been drinking my coffee and tea out of this basically every single day. 20 ounces, still fits in a normal cup holder. They're great. So there's a lot of stuff there on the store, but you can also go there and click live data, and that takes you right to the Earth's analytics page. There has been, before we look at the sun, just pointing out, then we'll get back to this, there has also been a fantastic Schumann resonance burst that has occurred right there under fair weather conditions in Tomsk, Russia. We'll look at that. So this is some sort of global impulse right there. This is not due to a thunderstorm because it was fair weather conditions. This is what we watch the Schumann resonances for, to track these kind of energy spikes. Look at how it's centered over the Earth frequencies. That's really exciting. So we'll talk about that, but let's first look at our 304 angstrom view because we've had 2 plasma filaments blast off from the sun just over the past 3 days, but really more like the past 2 days. You'll see one launch off right in this zone here fairly soon. Just give this a watch. There that goes. They are still waiting to model that because they're waiting on imagery. There's that first one, okay? So let's go back to the very beginning. You'll watch this first plasma filament blast off well to the north. That's a big one, but that is not really Earth directed. And then you see, again, this most recent one after the little glitch moment. You'll see this one launch basically Earth center direct. So give that a watch right here. Boom. That looks like it's going to hit the Earth. And so that's also going to be coming in after the full moon. So we have this energy spike due to the full moon, light radiation, it altering and moving through the magnetotail, causing some plasma disruption, and then also the gravitational forces. We had this plasma filament, looks like it's coming into the Earth, though maybe most of it goes north of the ecliptic plane. It does look like it's going to go more north than like ecliptic equatorial. Just give that a watch again. See, it's kind of going just a little bit more like that. But we do have some solar influences at play. And the thing that matters as it relates to earthquakes and solar activity is that typically you get big earthquakes as it relates to solar cycles during the descending phase and the minimum phase. Because you need this energy to get loaded into the Earth before then it pulls back. And so that is what's happening right now. If we look at our, actually we can go right here to do it. If we look at our solar cycle progression, I've been talking about this, but just a quick note. Look at how much we've dropped in our sunspot number. That's May, that's June. We started to have a rebound in June, but the fact that we pulled back so much gives Earth a chance to respond in kind with her energy. And then if we go down here, we see our 10.7 centimeter radio flux, or 2800 gigahertz wave. That's gone down even for more for June. So there's May, there's June. So we've had a big decrease, at least at this moment in time, as it relates to some of these measures of solar activity. But we do have this big coronal hole coming back on the sun, and it is literally in the shape of a dragon or a phoenix. So when I talk about this stuff, I really like to see it get confirmed across multiple things, like this dragon energy and that kind of explanation. We literally have a dragon on the sun right now saying, hey, it's coming. And Ryu Tsuzuki, the Japanese manga prophet, she said in her dream she saw 2 dragons converging together. So perhaps this was her way of understanding 2 dragon lines of energy coming together to a spot. And it's there at that junction with this new flow of energy going through them, because there's been flux in the dragon lines, that we get some sort of significant event. It's a compelling idea. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen, but it certainly is an interesting idea. So this is a coronal hole. It's an area in the solar corona, the outermost part of the atmosphere, where there's a low density, low plasma temperature. So it shows up dark on this 211 angstrom view, but it's not actually like a hole through the sun. These are not stars on the other side. It's just how we see this coronal hole. But you'll notice, and this has been around, I think now for 12 rotations, going all the way back to that G4 storm in October. This was on the sun, though it was much smaller. But now it has this really nice trans-equatorial portion right there. And it looks like it's actively growing at this moment in time. That's what gives you a strong high-speed stream impact. When it's way down in the southern hemisphere or way up in the northern hemisphere, it's probably not flowing along that ecliptic plane. It's going more to the north or the south. But this part there means it's going to cut right through that plane and effectively hit us. And the last time we had a good trans-equatorial coronal high-speed stream impact from this coronal hole was back in March. Specifically, we had a G2 storm on March 24th, and then we had that magnitude 7.7 earthquake in Burma. So, and also a 1.1 X-class flare, all the same day, March 28th. So this is the biggest coronal hole with a trans-equatorial portion since then. And I would say as a result, we are on an earthquake watch as a result of that. We have this full moon. That energy is active for a while. Then we go right into this high-speed stream impact. G2 conditions are possible, but I'm thinking about this more from an earthquake perspective. And we are overdue for a magnitude 8+ earthquake. We typically get one a year. And it's been about 4 years now. Coming up in August will be the 4-year anniversary. So we are well overdue for a significant seismic event. And as I just showed you, but I'll show you once more, we have had that pullback in some of these measures of solar activity, specifically radio flux, indicating that, yeah, the conditions are fairly ripe for this at this moment in time. Let's look at this Schumann burst, because this is one of the best things that we have seen in the Schumann resonances in a long time. So we scroll all the way over, we get our latest data. Here's our power legend. So blue and indigo is like low power. And then once you get up into these hot colors, it's a high power. We see our spectrogram goes from 0 to 40 hertz. So 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second. 40 hertz is 40 of those. Very, very fast. And we're measuring the vertical electric field here. So you take the ground surface and the ionosphere. They both have a charge to them. They create this very faint electric current in between them. This is like a fair weather current, though it can also be disturbed under conditions like a thunderstorm or electrified rain cloud or whatever. There's these subtle vibrations that exist along this electric current going from the ground in the ionosphere bidirectionally. These are Schumann resonances. You can measure these frequencies across a whole bunch of ranges, but these Schumann resonances are always propagating. They're the natural resonant energy of the Earth because they overlap with their wavelengths with Earth's physical dimensions, specifically her circumference and various harmonics. So they are always resonating, they're always pulsing, being created by lightning strikes, about 50 every single second. Ionospheric sunrise creates Schumann resonances. Space weather impacts can sometimes create Schumann resonances. Solar flares sometimes can do it. There's a whole bunch of things that feed into them occasionally. The biggest source, though, is lightning strikes and the ionosphere. This is what they normally look like. Just a band of higher power. This overlaps perfectly with our brain waves. 7.8 hertz, 14 hertz, 20 hertz, 26, 33, 39. These form peaks in our brainwave structure because they have the same frequency and the same intensity. Our heart rhythms connect to Schumann resonances. When we see them go up in power or get disturbed from like a geomagnetic storm, we see our heart rate variability rhythms also get perturbed away from normal, and that stress response kicks in. The HPA axis gets turned on. Well, this again is normal, and actually let me scroll over to show you a thunderstorm here. This is a thunderstorm in the local area. It's a pretty typical signature for something highly electrified passing over the observation station, causing these vibrations to go up in power. The frequency generally goes down a little bit when that happens. But this was tied to fair weather conditions. So what the heck is that? I mean, these are just natural Earth energies, but what created that? That could be a very significant pre-earthquake signal. Often we see them just like in these specific bands. but this is a very big Earth resonance burst, quite rare. And we do see an activation, a greater activation in mode 4, mode 3, which are these normal pre-earthquake zone, but it's really there at 7.8 hertz. So I'm more inclined to think that this may be related to humanity, new people having spiritual awakenings, and those of us that are working to bring in this new Earth grid that's higher vibrational and more in alignment with peace and love consciousness and not anger and war consciousness. Perhaps this is related to that. Just a sudden spike of higher awareness and consciousness. Let's look at our weather for that area so we can get a sense of what the heck is happening there. And here we have Tomsk actually right there, as you can see. And you'll see that this is July 8th at 1700 p.m. And that's universal time. So that corresponds exactly with July 9th local time in Tomsk, which is what the spectrogram shows. So let's go there. And here we have midnight right there for the 9th, right? This is, or for the 10th rather. Midnight right there. Let's go back here. And so actually we want the 9th. So let's go, I guess I'm further back than I thought. We want to go back all the way to here, right there, on the 9th. And we can go back a bit and we'll see the thunderstorm basically pass over the area. This is all precipitation right here. If I go back, see how there's strong weather and clouds and rain over Tomsk? Okay. Now we're at, we'll go back to 1700. Okay. This is the 8th, the beginning of the 8th. So we can go here. This is the beginning of the 8th right there. We see fair weather conditions until 1300 local time, which would be 8 a.m. Universal. So we can go forward to 8 Universal on the 8th, which should be right here. And look how we're starting to get thunderstorm activity over Tomsk. So this is how you want to interpret the Schumann resonances. You first want to cancel out local weather effects. But let's go to where that tapers off, which I would say is right about here at, let's call it 10 a.m. local time. So that's 3 a.m. Universal time on the 9th. Let's go back to our map. We're going to 3 a.m. Universal time on the 9th. Here's Tomsk. We see that's just kind of like clouds, but no active rain right immediately over Tomsk. If we go forward, watch how that continues passing this way and then dissipating. So here's fair weather conditions, fair weather conditions, fair weather conditions, nothing nearby, some clouds, but nothing nearby. That's significant. And our last timestamp here that we have is 10 a.m. local time on the 10th, which would be 3 a.m. UTC plus 7. So, or sorry, just 3 a.m. UTC. So we can go back to the 10th, 3 right there. This is the conditions right now. This is all forecast. At this point, they're forecasting what's going to happen. This is where we are right now. Fair weather conditions. If we go back a few hours, right? Fair weather, fair weather, fair weather. That is that time zone that we had that Earth burst. So this is clearly some sort of Earth signal. And if it's this strong, it would have likely had some sort of global effect. But if it's coming from nearby, then it's going to show up stronger at this observation station than perhaps others. And Japan's actually not that far away from Tomsk in the grand scheme. So let's give that a look. We can go to Google Earth here, and we should be able to find Tomsk right here. Here's Tomsk, Russia. Okay, and let's put a pin on that, or a measuring stick, and let us go over to our earthquake swarms now. This is 4,600 kilometers, 5,100 kilometers. So within range, because we saw pre-earthquake signals out of Turkey in 2023. This is the February 6th earthquake sequence, magnitude 7.8 and 7.5. They ruptured right around there, and look at the distance, about 4,000 kilometers. So it is within range for pre-earthquake signals to get picked up, or if those were caused by a traveling ionospheric disturbance, and perhaps that's something. But we do see here, like in the Pacific Ocean bathymetry data, we see these like features that kind of look dragon-like. and they're both pointing like in this direction. But the event is supposedly going to occur, if it even occurs. I'm not at all going to be surprised if it does not occur, by the way. But the timeline for this is all of July 2025. If it wasn't July 5th, that's when she had the dream. It was on July 5th. Supposedly sometime in July, that's when she thinks this is going to happen. It's in this area. So we're seeing earthquake energy travel along the normal routes, of course. It's not like the entire Earth has immediately just shifted and plate tectonics is different and everything like that. But certainly as we have the Earth itself physically heating up, it's going to expand, right? As things heat up, they expand. And so we are having the Earth just get hotter and hotter and hotter for all of the Holocene. If you go back and look at the climate records, Earth used to be a lot cooler, and then we had our interglacial. We've stayed hot now for like 10,000 years, basically. We've been really hot planet for 10,000 years. So the Earth itself is expanding. Now, to what degree is a good question. But there is some sort of new push because the Earth is getting hotter, right? Some of that is going to bleed down and affect the geology and the plate tectonics. So we have new faults and fracture zones opening up. We have these new dragon lines and telluric currents. Some of the strongest telluric currents are induced by the moon. They are lunar. And we have these two swarms here, both of them basically saying, hey, we can do that event if you want us to. If you go down here, you'll see volcanic islands right in this area. There's one right there. This is a subduction zone, the Ryukyu Trench, very, very powerful subduction zone that's generating these volcanoes. And then we also have this area, even bigger subduction zone. And this very well could have a significant volcanoseismic event. Oh, look at that. There's a big volcano right there. So it's not like it's never happened before. Every single volcano that you see on Google Earth here, that just, oh, there's a caldera. That's just some random underwater caldera, right? Every single one of these had to get created at some point. Look at all the nested calderas of this island there. See that big caldera there? Here's the second one, right? These things are everywhere. And a lot of these places have been dormant. And now there could be new places waking up because of these changing dragon lines. This is also volcanic. Check this out, all right? So when you zoom around Google Earth for a bit, you start to learn a lot. And actually, this is looking really interesting. That's definitely an underwater volcanic feature of some sort. And it's right in the zone. So that's very interesting. Of course, you can find probably more things like that. But yeah, here's another one. Look at this guy. There's one right there. And we just have this tiny little atoll, it looks like. Barely imaged at all, but that looks like a pretty significant feature. Here's another one, right? You have more volcanoes under the water unknown than you do have on land because most of the world's volcanism is actually occurring under the waves. Keep that in mind. So it's not like this is outside the realm of possibility, but where are these dragon lines converging? That is the question. That's kind of what I want to explore today, right now. Here we have a very interesting ridge. This is going to channel some energy. Here we see that as well. These features there, which do kind of look dragon-like in my opinion. It's almost like a Chinese dragon, and like here's the neck, there's the head. Do you see it? There's the body. This is like more just like a sinuous body and then a very big like Chinese dragon head. They are both pointing right to like this zone. Look at all this right there. Like what the heck are these things? These are all effectively seamounts. What do you think creates them? Oh, probably a whole bunch of like geologic activity, volcanic activity. Maybe they haven't breached, but there's definitely something creating topography out here while the rest of the abyssal plain is flat. You've got to kind of ask yourself why. There's no rhyme or reason to that either. Whereas here with like Hawaii, we see the track. It's very clear, right? And then it takes that jog, which is kind of odd. You can even see some interesting shapes in here. It looks like they just updated the bathymetry data for like the globe. It's looking way more crisp and clear than before. I mean, do you see all the people here? This is kind of wild. Maybe it's my overactive imagination. But we we don't if basically what I'm presenting here is that we have quite a bit of evidence that the dragon lines are changing, and I would encourage everyone here on this channel watching this video to, if they have this interest, to do some investigation into where there is going to be where there may be a congregation or collection of new energy due to like changing dragon line flux. I do have some experience with dragon lines. When I was in Vermont, we went out to a wild dragon line and we did some testing on it. Actually, Eileen McCusick, myself, and two friends, and we found some interesting conductivity properties or resistance properties to the dragon line. It seemed to be more conductive than the surrounding geology and Earth. We had very limited tools, so take this, this is not official results, but there was a marked drop in the resistivity values, the resistance of the soil inside the dragon line. And this is a well-documented dragon line because, well, Eileen McCusick used to live on that property for like 8 years, so she knows where it is. So these things are changing, or at least they have the capability of changing, and it's important that we track that because that may be a very important clue helping us to understand where we might have some of these significant energetic events to occur. I believe that is it for this video. I don't think I have anything else. We talked about the plasma filaments, Kilauea going nuts. Let us pull that up again. That should be it. Boom, shakalaka. There is Kilauea. This was today, episode 28, 1,000 feet high. And let us do a quick, very quick, it's late here, but let's do a very quick sound healing meditation, and just to equalize some of these energies, because we are bringing in that new Earth grid, and so it's important that we take upon ourselves the responsibility of doing that. We can do a sound healing, start to just find a comfortable position, or even just a comfortable place, peace of mind. Bring ease, invite ease into your body, E-A-S-E. Find where you feel good. Yes. Just start to quiet down and relax. This is 528 hertz. A harmonization frequency. (222 hertz). Just let it go and let your breath naturally rise, diaphragm. Big breath. And let go. Feel the frequency. Not just this tuning fork, but of the Earth herself. She is giving birth to new life, new land. The signs are all there. Saturn in Neptune in Aries at the critical degree. The first degree of the entire zodiac. That means something. That really means something. We can all feel it. Something's coming. Question is, can you find peace with what that is? This change as I'm about to unfold, to unfurl. Are you ready for that? Can you embrace that? Find that area that is not ready. That zone. Yeah, there it is. Equalize that energy. We are all ready. Yes, we are children of the earth, and thus we cannot be harmed by what she does if we are in resonance with her. Let go of that fear, of that worry. Let it go. It's sticking. I can feel it sticking. Can you hear the note? Release it. Feel that connection to the earth, down from your root chakra through your feet. Yes. It's clearing up. Yes, and with that new confidence, awareness, consciousness, faith, belief, and trust, we are all guided and protected by our mother. She cares for each and every single one of us. Let's ground it in. Let's ground in the 5D grid. One love. God is here with us. God is here within us. Thank you all so much for being here, being a part of this community, for making this channel possible, for making my efforts worthwhile. Together, we are stronger. So I encourage you to spread the word, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all the things. And I'll keep you up to date every step of the way. That is my promise to you. The responsibility I've placed upon my shoulders is to be up to date and live when it counts. You're not going to see me release the critical update 3 days after it happened. I will be there, or at least I'll do everything in my power to make that possible. That is my promise. So if you like the sound of that, please subscribe. Wishing all of you well. Please take care of yourselves. Remember earthing and grounding. Barefoot's best. I've been running around barefoot a ton, but today I also put in some post holes and put in some like a new railing. And well, it was good to have some shoes for that. So earthing shoes are available on wildfreeorganic.com/store, sandals and also boots. Then all the tea blends are available at earthevolution.com/store. You can check all those products out. I make them from my heart to give to you to help everyone with their health, their wellness, and their spiritual activation and more. So yeah, I'm doing as much as I can, much as humanly possible to bring in this new earth that everyone's talking about and we're hoping can happen, because there are some tragic things happening on the other side and we can't let the density overtake us as it may want to do. So we have to keep that lightness and that higher vibrational essence within our body, which is just, it naturally arises from the spirit. But if we embody it, then we can radiate it out into the entire earth grid because we have the natural hardware to do so. For example, the Schumann resonances, the natural earth resonant frequencies, well, guess what? These are also our natural resonant frequencies. So once we reach that critical mass, everyone can just immediately enter into resonance and become coherent. So thank you all so much. For everyone that gave us super thanks, thank you as well. We did have a really big super thanks that just came in from Barno. This is 99 euros. Wow, incredible. Thank you so much for the very generous super thanks. Wishing all of you well. Please take care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.